Well, Canada is now 1 day away from having tariffs slapped on all our exports to our largest trading partner. After a 1-month reprieve, the tariffs are expected to be put in place tomorrow. There's still uncertainty on the magnitude of the tariffs, whether they amount to 25% or some lesser number, but it seems clear the tariffs are coming, and the consequences to Canada's economy are potentially disastrous. A swift response from Ottawa, which would be an imposition of Canadian tariffs on some U.S. goods, would put the two countries solidly into a trade war. And that trade war, of course, could broaden out to include Mexico, Europe, and China. Let's get the views of a veteran Canadian investor. John Zechner is chairman and founder of Zechner Associates. And as we've mentioned, he's our featured guest of the morning. John, it's great to see you. Thanks for coming in. So we've been dreading this day, I guess, ever since Donald Trump tweeted out during the period after the election, but before his inauguration, that steep tariffs are coming on the Canadian economy. What's your view of this situation?
Yeah, I think it will happen this time. I mean, we got the reprieve last month, and I mean, you never know what Donald Trump's going to do. He's very mercurial in all of the aspects, and he's always headline news. But when I look at what's his motivation here, like, first of all, the rationale, like for a lot of stuff that Trump says and does is, certainly nothing close to based on facts, because if it's all about fentanyl, let's be realistic. I mean, we had I think 50 pounds of fentanyl moved from the U.S. to Canada over the last year versus 20,000 plus pounds from Mexico into the U.S. So, that's not really the issue. He's looking, he needs the tariff revenue, I think, because their agenda is so oriented towards tax cuts and other things, at the same time wanting to cut the deficit. You need some other sources of revenue. I think for him, tariffs are going to be it. Initially, he's talked about it so much. I don't think he'll back off on that. And on top of that, other motivations, Canada's in his crosshairs right now. We know he has a bit of a disdain or dislike for Justin Trudeau, so he's certainly not going to give him a win. He certainly keeps going with this narrative about Canada as the 51st state, so, he's not about to help us. So you add that all up. Yeah, they're probably going to go ahead with these tariffs, the 25% as announced. And, I think what'll stop it at some point is, what happens to the U.S. economy, because he'll react to that as well. I mean, if suddenly the auto industry rolls over, if inflation starts to heat up, if, a lot of the companies start backlashing against him, he will react. He's very reactive in that regard, and you saw it even over the weekend. I mean, when talked about the cryptocurrencies, and you're going to talk about that later in the move in Bitcoin. I mean, Bitcoin dropped close to 20% last month, and you talked about being, the U.S. are the crypto kings and all of that. And then on the weekend, he's going to do the crypto reserves. I mean, that was an easy shot, and then the thing pops. I mean, and I think he does it. He reacts, and so I think you saw a weak market for a lot of February. We're seeing some weaker economic data. The Atlanta Fed just downgraded the growth a little bit. If these tariffs end up hurting that, or, I think maybe that we'll see some backing off. But on another basis, no, I think they're a goal for now.
You expect 25% tariffs for at least a brief period of time, do you?
Yeah, I think maybe a little bit longer than, brief, like we're not talking about a couple of days, maybe a couple of months. And we know that we'll have a new prime minister in Canada a little over a month from now, I guess, or at least later this month. Anyway, so someone else to deal with, a liberal for now anyway, but still there'll be some changes here. So I don't think they're going to cut us any slack on that one. So our economy has to absorb that. And that's not good news at all. I mean, it's not good for the auto industry. It's not good for steel. It's not for the industrials. This is going to backlash onto the banks who do the funding for all of this. It'll impact the consumer because of confidence levels. So, yeah, this is a real headwind for Canada.
Here's exactly what a senior White House administration person said yesterday on Fox News. Howard Lutnick is the Commerce Secretary. They have done a lot, speaking of Canada and Mexico, they have done a lot. So he, the president, is sort of thinking about right now how exactly he wants to play with Mexico and Canada, and that's a fluid situation. There are going to be tariffs on Tuesday on Mexico and Canada. Exactly what they are, we're going to leave that for the president and his team to negotiate. So the White House signaling that something less than 25% is possible tomorrow. What, John, about what do you see as the effects on the stock market? We often hear that Donald Trump very concerned about the stock market under his administration. And the major overhang on the markets recently has been this idea of tariffs boosting inflation in the U.S. economy.
Yeah, it's a hard read on that one right now because what moves the stock market is unexpected. And this is not unexpected. Been talking about it for a while, but there was a bit of an undertow, a bit of a belief, I think, because of what happened a month ago that, maybe it won't be to a full 25%. Maybe it'll get delayed again for some, potential possibility. I think they're coming through, as I said, notwithstanding the Howard Lutnick comments that you just mentioned. Gives them a little bit of breathing room there. But for what I said before, I don't think, Canada is a favored nation in Trump's eyes right now, and we're not going to get cut slack on this one in the short term until he gets pressure to do something, and that pressure would come from within the U.S., from the companies, from the market, whatever, to say these are not working. They're raising inflation. They're costing us economic growth, and I think that would be what happened. Let's not kid ourselves. I mean, the idea that tariffs are a panacea or a rescue for anything is, this is a policy that worked 140 years ago. Yeah. Doesn't mean it's going to work today. As we know, it's a very different economy.
That's John Zechner and his take on our top story. Up next, we'll bring you